Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the course, Identifying Web Attacks Through Logs. In the last video, we talked about vulnerability scans and their logs. In this video, we'll talk about brute force attacks and their logs. The objectives of this video are to review brute force attacks and to identify the brute force attacks using web server logs. Let's begin. So what are brute force attacks? A brute force attack occurs when someone is trying to get access to your system, or in our case, to our web page. It's usually done with multiple login and password attempts, so the attacker is forcing the authentication. To perform brute force attacks, it's common to use dictionaries or leaked information. A dictionary is just a common password list, and leaked information about users and passwords can obviously make the attack much easier. If the brute force attacker uses the dictionary, the attacker will take a lot of guesses and may use a lot of automation. The leaked information could have the username and password that the attacker needs, so the attacker may need to try fewer options. That's why it's really important to change your password after some period of time or when you hear about leaked information from a website that you have an account with. For web applications, the most common targets are HTTP forms. Depending on the web application, the form can use GET or POST methods. You'll see there is a difference between both requests. If you remember from OWASP, the brute force attack is related to A2, the broken authentication. To see an example of the most common password, check this web page. In this attack, we'll use our lab. There is a vulnerable HTTP form. Some tools will help us to perform the attack. We'll use the Hydra and Burp Community Edition. Here we have the logs of the attack. Notice the username and password information on the log. There are many different usernames and passwords. Checking the date and time, it's also possible to see many requests in a short period of time. One user sent 7 requests in less than 10 seconds. Here you have more than one username as a target. So if you're thinking that a user forgot his password, many usernames doesn't make sense. Also, you have administrator logins. For more information, here's the detail of one log line. Here we can see the typical behavior of a brute force attack. The first has many requests to the login web page in a small period of time, and different usernames and passwords sent. Here's another example. In this case, only one username is the target. The username Pablo is the target. Notice that the behavior is similar. Many requests in a small period of time from the same IP. I said before we can use GET or POST methods. In the last example, it was easy to identify the username and the password because of the GET method. Here we have an example of a request using the POST method. Notice that we don't have the username and the password in the request. This happens because the request is in the payload. Later in this course, we'll analyze the HTTP payload. Since it's a log, let's analyze it. Check this user agent. Hydra is a well-known tool used to perform brute force attacks. It's also possible to see we have many requests in a short period of time from the same IP. All these requests are to the login web page. One more example. Check this log. Here we have a post, but the user agent looks normal. In the real world, things will not be so easy. You always need to ask, is this an expected behavior? Same IP, small time between requests, and the login web page looks suspicious. You can see that the referrer and the requested page are the same. This could be someone trying to log in. The user types the wrong username or password, and the login page is reloaded. But could someone type the username or password in 3 or 4 seconds? Our conclusion is that this is an attack, specifically a brute force attack. In this video, we use 2 tools, THC Hydra and Burp Community Edition. The difference between both is the number of the requests. With Hydra, we did many requests in a small period of time. There are many other tools we can use to perform the brute force attacks, though. Now, let me give you some directions to identify these brute force attacks. The first is to look for many requests in a small period of time to the login pages. The same IP doing many requests is a good indicator of a brute force attack as well. If your web application uses GET, look for different users or passwords. For post requests, look for the number of the requests and the time. Don't forget to check the user agents. Post-assessment question. You can always identify a brute force attack analyzing just the user agent. Is this information true or false? This information is false. The username would help, but an attacker can change it, as we saw in some examples. For the next question, analyze the log below and identify the IP source, type of attack, and what the attacker is trying to do. We can easily identify the source IP address. The requested page has a login page, many username and password combinations, and a small period of time. Usually, administrator is an important username. Why would someone trying to get administrator access to this web page? In summary, we have the source IP is trying to perform a brute force attack, and the attack is trying to obtain the administrator password. Video summary. In today's video, we discussed the brute force attack, analyzed the two types of brute force attacks using both get and post methods, and identified the attack analyzing the logs. During the analysis, look for user agents, many requests in a small period of time, requests to the login web pages, and suspicious usernames like administrator. In the next video, we'll have a brief review of SQL injections and we'll analyze the logs to identify the SQL injections.